Hi, my name's Cass. Welcome to the AutoParent podcast with my mom.
Hello. That's true. I'm his mom. I'm also your host for the AutoParent podcast. My name is Reverend Casey Van Atta K. Spear. I am an associate pastor and director of family ministries at Foundry United Methodist Church in Washington, D.C., and I'm a mom. Y'all, whatever we need this podcast to be, whether it's a space for solidarity or hope, to receive permission to tell guilt and shame to kick rocks, whatever we need for this parenting journey, I pray we find it here together. So come on, let's pray toward it and let's do it. Hello, and welcome to the AutoParent podcast, episode 15, which we're calling A Tale of Two Kellys. And you'll find out why. I'm your host, Pastor KC, which actually stands for Kelly Christian, if you didn't know that. But you do know me, so let's just go ahead and get to our special guest for this episode. Our special guest is Reverend Dr. Kelly Grimes, and she is an associate pastor and director of hospitality and congregational care at Foundry, and she's an auntie. And we're so excited to have you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited to do this with you. I can't even tell you. It's going to be awesome. So let's go ahead and get to our special guest questions. The first one up top, which I'll be interested to know this about you because you seem to take things really in stride. But I know you've got some pet peeves. So tell me what those are.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Hey everybody. So pet peeves. When someone doesn't respond when I say hello.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's that, like, dude, you see me here? I mean, when the HUD secretary was like, hello, good morning.
Oh, right.
There and looked at her, I was like, wrong move. And she looked at him like, I know you're going to act like you hear me. Good afternoon. And touched her ear like, say it with your chest.
Kevin Hart.
Yeah, so that is one of my pet peeves because I mean it's easy to just acknowledge that there's a human standing in front of you and that they've said something to you. So I mean you don't have to be in a big conversation with them. Just say hey. Another pet peeve. Let's see. Yeah, when someone just doesn't acknowledge somebody's humanity, that drives me.
Yeah.
Nuts. Because I'm like, you're a human, they're a human. So just, it's cool. Just,
yeah.
So I think those are two of my biggest pet peeves.
Those are good ones. So two things. Number one, I also have a pet peeve that's pretty similar to the whole saying hi, no response thing, which is that if you're going to say, how are you? Don't say it, don't finish the sentence after you're already past me. Don't do that. If we're going to say, how are you? Then let's talk about it. And even if it's just, a cordial little, I'm good. How are you? How's the fam? That sort of thing. But don't say, hi, how are you? And then just keep walking. That doesn't feel authentic or genuine at all.
It's sticky.
Yeah. And it's just a thing that we've sort of brought into our speech, colloquially, and it's just really annoying. The second thing is I was at Whole Foods just a minute ago, and I saw a shirt that said people are people, and it just makes me think of your acknowledging humanity thing. Such a good and important reminder. Also one that bugs me too. Okay. Can you think about a time that you have laughed really, really hard? And I always say this, it doesn't have to be a good story. That's sometimes what makes it even more funny is that most of the time when we're laughing, it's because we're not supposed to be. So anyway, can you think of a time when you laughed really hard?
Let's see. Yeah. So Pastor Kelly has been clumsy at times. And gosh, and hilariously, it was a Good Friday service at Epworth Chapel many moons ago. And some kind of way I fell up the steps in the in the sanctuary in the balcony of the sanctuary, and it was packed, and I was greeting people because I was an associate pastor there at the time. And I don't know, I missed a step of something. I don't know what happened. All I know is my robe went flying up, my dress went flying up. I was like, well, and I'll be preaching later. Ha ha. And so that I laughed really every time I think about it, because everybody was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?"
Right? Yeah.
Like, well, I'm fine. But that might be a little, but it's just So every time I'm clumsy or something weird happens, yeah, I laugh, and so I have quite a few of those.
Yeah, I have, that has never happened to me, at least not yet. I know that it will because I'm hella clumsy. So I'm sure that that's probably going to happen to me. But I did used to have a really long robe, and so I was always like terrified that I was going to trip over it. It does make me think of this one story though that I think I told on the podcast early on, but it got cut out. So I'm going to tell it again because I want people to hear this story. One of the times, there's something about like laughing in church, right? Because you feel like you don't know, like, is it okay to laugh? Is it too, like, is it serious? What's going on? And this one time in church, there was this elderly woman, like just living her best life. She would walk in with her little walker and sit on the front row, and like, she was adamant that she was going to stand up to sing. So it was beautiful, right? It was this amazing, like, worshipful experience of her, like, standing for the Lord, because that's what she wanted to do, to sing songs and then to sit down. And it was great and beautiful and amazing, except that she couldn't stand up or sit down without farting. And so we also sat on the front row, like right next to her, and it's hilarious too, because it's like right as like your choral director, your music director is like, okay, we're gonna sing this, and there's this like pause before the music starts, and it's just like she would rip the loudest one you've ever heard.
Oh yeah, no, she would have to be up there every week. That would be that. I mean, I'd be like, ma'am, don't worry about it, and really, I'd be thinking, this is my entertainment, and
right,
kicks and giggles when I can.
I also know that that's totally going to be me when I'm an older woman, and I don't even care.
I don't even care. Like, hey, I'm gonna fart. Deal with it.
I would have to, like, when it first happened, like you hear something like that, and you're like, is that what that was? But when it got super consistent, I mean, there would be times where I would have to like leave the sanctuary because I was not okay. Not okay. Yeah. So, occasionally on the podcast, I try to tell a time when I've laughed really hard. And when you said, that about tripping, it made me think of that lady.
Hilarious.
Amazing. All right. So now we're going to transition into a segment that we normally call Parenting Fails, Confessions, and Wins. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different, which I'm super excited about because the Reverend Dr. Kelly Grimes is an auntie and has some of the most amazing stories. And I can't wait to hear these. So she's going to do that. And I am actually going to tell some big sister fails, confessions, and wins. This is something that we maybe have not talked about on the podcast yet, but I am a big sister. My dad got remarried to his wife, Courtney, and they have, so they have 3 kids. One he's 7, and the other 2 are twins, and they're 4.
Oh, wow.
So when I say I'm a big sister, I mean I'm a big sister. And I love them with my entire heart so much. And I never thought that my family would expand in that way. And such a gift. So anyway, we're going to talk about big sister fails, confessions, and wins today. And here's some auntie stories from Pastor Kelly, which I'm excited about. Okay.
My nieces don't need to listen to this. Don't you dare.
Don't say their names. We'll protect their anonymity. Okay, so I'll start with a big sister fail. So my dad got a camper and actually got like a couple camper. I don't know how it worked out. It may be like a mega camper. I'm not sure. Like a combination of like 3 or 4 camper parts. But anyway, they got a camper. They decided they were going to drive up from, they live in like near Birmingham in Alabama. Decided they were going to drive up to DC to visit us. And they were going to stay at a campsite near the beach. And this was during the summer last year. I was so excited. We were going to show them all the things. We went to the World War II Memorial so they could splash their feet in the irreverently in the in the fountain.
People,
right? I know. So we did the whole thing, and then I was like, we have to go to the beach, because we love going to the beach and it's super fun. So we got so excited. We went to the beach. We got out all of our lawn chairs, put an umbrella up. Like the kids were so excited, ready to jump in. And they did, and then somebody came running up to us and was like, "Oh my gosh, there's a ton of jellyfish! Get them out of the water! Get them out of the water!" And before we could get them out, like my son Cash had been stung, my little sister had been stung, like everybody had been stung by jellyfish, and it was a huge big sister fail. I was like, "Oh no!" I was so excited for them to just have a blast, and then the jellyfish had come in, and they had come in a little earlier than we expected, and yeah, it was a huge fail. They all lived through it, but man, you've never lived until you've experienced multiple children together being stung by jellyfish. It's a complete disaster.
Yeah, that's when it's time for everybody to take a nap.
Yes, exactly.
Yay! Let's see, an Auntie Fail. Well, this was kind of like a lesson because I was like, didn't know. So when my niece was a baby, I just loved, of course, being with her.
Of course.
It's the sweetest baby. And and I always would volunteer to change her diaper. I don't know why.
Right. That sounds terrible.
So, but what her mom didn't tell me is that she had started eating food.
Oh.
And so if you are somebody who does not know what that means, it means that what comes out has changed dramatically from what used to come out.
Yep.
And so I was like, she said, "You want to change her?" I was like, "Yes, I'll change the baby." Oh, I'm just talking to her. All baby is, he's so cute. And she's just like, kee. And I'm like, "Oh, you're just such a sweet girl. I just love changing you." And man, I opened that diaper and I was like, what kind of, ma'am, this is so terrible. This might have a chain hanging from it. What is going on with this? This is gross. And she's just, the baby's just smiling. And I was like, "Oh yeah, we started eating food today." I was like, "Yo, dude." And so it was my failure.
Oh yeah. That's
I didn't ask, I didn't smell. I don't know why, man. I was like, what kind of diaper is this that I didn't smell that?
Yeah, for real. Because it starts to get real bad at a certain point.
Yeah. I was like, damn, this is like grown poo. What are you doing? She's just like, Elsa. She's just smiling and keying.
Oh yeah, I bet she felt better.
Yeah, I bet she did.
Oh my goodness. First thing I should say is that this is a very poop friendly podcast. We talk about poop quite a bit. Second thing is that it gets even worse as they get older too, because then constipation is a real big deal for 3 and 4-year-olds. And so, yeah, it's no good, but it definitely starts to smell like grown. And you're like, hold on a second. What is this?
Somebody this little and this cute have something like this? Damn.
Right. Exactly. All right, let's do some confessions. My big sister confession, my confessions tend to be pretty short and sweet. This one's also short and sweet. My big sister confession is just that when I'm hanging out with my siblings, there are 3 of them. I have 2 kids, so that's 5 kids. Then there's me and Greg and my dad and his wife, Courtney. That's 4 adults. So there are 5 kids and 4 adults, and it's a lot to be outnumbered in that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I just got this new tattoo that says outnumbered, but I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It's It's so much. It's so much. So anyway, my confession is just that when I get back from having been with them, it just makes me remember that like I'm super glad I only have 2.
I think that's going to be my confession for being an aunt. There are times when I come home and after being with nieces and I lay on the floor or I lay in my bed and I thank God that I am alone. I love them. Oh my gosh, I love them. They're just the most wonderful people in the whole wide world. And I mean, like when I tell you I pray for parents every day, that is like, no, I'm not like making it up, whatever.
Right.
No. I pray for parents every day because I can't imagine every day looking at somebody and they look at me and go, "You're in charge." Oh crap, am I? God, really?
That's so relatable.
I do about this whole thing. Oh snap! All right, well, tag on it. Yeah. So I mean, even when I have them, I mean, if I could just put them in bubble wrap, I would just bubble wrap them because I'm just like,
yeah.
How in the world do people do this all day, every day? How are you doing this every day, all day? So my confession is that I lay diagonal in my bed, especially if one of them has been one of my nieces who just turned 13 is still a kicker.
Oh yeah.
Sleep with her. And she's like, "I want to sleep with you." And I'm like, "Oh no, do you have to?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's fun." I'm like, "It is not.
It is not.
It is not fun, ma'am. How in the world are you able to, ma'am? Do you not wake up when you kick and you don't feel my head? Ma'am." Woo! Okay. So God bless your parents. Clarence, I pray for you every day. Yes.
Yeah, honestly, that's one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on the podcast because Pastor Kelly does our congregational care and she does hospitality as well. But I firsthand know how much she cares for and prays for our parents. And so I'm so excited that our parents are getting to hear that from you so that they know that they have so much solidarity and love being sent their way from Foundry Pastoral Care team.
Jeez.
Yeah, it is not something that we take lightly.
Yes, parents are rock stars.
Yes, retweet for sure. Okay, favorite part of the podcast. So excited. We're going to talk about some wins.
Yes.
And actually, a couple weeks ago, I did a podcast with Rachel Cornwell, and one of the things that she said was that for her, parenting wins are just as much about what she's won, like how did I get this amazing gift, and so this kind of is in light of that. As a big sister, one of the biggest things I won, one of the biggest things that I got was a little sister, and it just is really, really cool because I have 2 kids of my own who both identify as boys at this point. And then I had a younger brother, and then I got this little sister, and I was like, it is so cool to be able to relate to her in a new way. And it's just it's a gift and a win that I'm so excited about. And I can't wait to, do this journey of life with her.
Yeah. Yeah. That is very cool. I echo that win because I don't have any nephews, all girls. And so watching them, the eldest one is 30 and 31. Yee, 31. Yikes.
That's how old I am, by the way.
Great. So wonderful. So I was like 3 when it happened. No. And so watching her become this woman has just been, has been amazing.
Yeah.
And all of my nieces, they're just continue to surprise me, even when I'm like, she don't know what she doing. It's like, but then it's like, oh snap, you knew exactly what you were doing. Look at you, rock star. And so even, and even cousins, I've got I've got a set of twin girl cousins who I used to babysit every day.
Bless you.
Yeah, every day after I got off work, I would go over to their house, and their parents would have a look that, you know.
Save us. Hosanna.
Right. Hosanna.
Save, please.
And they couldn't wait for me to, I mean, like, as soon as they heard the garage door, they were like, well, we're gone. We're going to take a walk now. And I'm like, where are your children?
Right.
The babies, the people who can't move for themselves, where are they? Go get them. We're going to, and they would take a walk and just like get away. Or we're going to go to the store now. I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing. But even watching them who are now 25, just rock out. And I'm like, wow, you know, and they keep me informed. And, you know, and if I sound like an old lady, they're like, no, that is not, come on, cousin Kelly. I'm like, okay, sorry. What am I doing wrong? Am I doing something? So just being able to watch them and to learn from them, and for them to, you know, to feel like they can, I think this is the biggest win. And you're going to experience this with your sister, like for them to discover who they are is just like the best thing to watch, you know.
Yeah.
My little niece is now, I've got one niece who's in college. She had to decide where she wanted to go to school. We all had our ideas of where we wanted her to go. Because of course we know best.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't want to go there. Here's what I want to do. I want to go to this school, and this is what I want to do. And I think this is going to be best for me. And, you know, of course, her parents are like, oh, okay. So she said, this is what she wants to do. So I was like, well, this is your education. You have to tell us what you want to do.
Yeah.
And she did. And, you know, and of course we were like, I don't know, but she's flourished. And so I'm like, well, daggone it, she knew what she wanted. And she's doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. You know,
yeah.
And that just gives me inspiration to say, okay, well, what is it that I want to do? How can I be that bold and courageous? I mean, that's the reason I have a doctorate, is because my niece was like, Auntie, just want to tell you, because you tell me I don't tell you things. This is my travel the world, and we don't know where this girl is. Could you please call her?
Yeah.
And let us know you're alive, kind of child. And she was like, okay, so I brought you to, we'd gone to get Chinese food. I forgot she spoke Mandarin. So she just starts ordering, and I'm like, oh yeah, you speak Mandarin. And, you know, and the waiter's like, oh, okay. So, and she's like, I just want to tell you, I got a job. I'll be working with some folks in Hong Kong. So I'll be and I'm like, and I'm scared to apply to get a doctorate.
Right.
I'm scared. She ain't scared. And I'm like, I should get this doctorate, huh? She's like, do it. You only want to do it. And I was like, okay. And so just her courage, you know, and knowing what she wanted to do made me say, well, I know what I want to do. Okay, I'm going to have some courage and I'm going to do it. So that's the joy that you get in being, you know, in watching these people grow up, is that they show you that they have this courage that you get older and you're like, oh, I ain't doing that. And then some 18-year-old comes by and goes, I'm doing this. And goes, yeah, why am I not doing that? I have more money than you. Why am I not doing that? Okay.
Right.
I think I'm gonna do it too. So they encourage me as much as they say I encourage them.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. I think what's so great about it is the acknowledgement and recognition that, like, younger people are teaching us all the time. They're teaching us all the time. And of course, I believe that, right? And that's why, like, I think it's so important that we have young people in positions of leadership in our church, whether it's in worship or in ministry teams or whatever. Like, they will lead us if we let them, right? And it's just a beautiful thing that you're modeling, and something that I think in the midst of parenting teenagers especially, there's this hope that if parents of teenagers can see it, that the kids are going to be all right. They're going to be all right.
Absolutely, they will.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because for every one of my nieces, I've said, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know about this. I don't know. This might be where we end. This might be where this is ending. I don't know. One that was 14, I was like, well, one of us is not going to make it. I don't know. Is it going to be you? Is it going to be me? Who's going to be? Who's it going to be? Like, okay. And now she is flourishing and doing great. And I'm like, how you do that? So yeah, it's like, are we going to make it? And it's like, yeah, you will. You'll make it some kind of way.
All right. Well, this has been a segment called Parenting Fails, Confessions, and Wins. If you have confessions, fails, or wins that you want to share with the podcast, whether they're parenting or auntie or uncle or big sister, big brother, you can share those with the pod on Instagram or Twitter at AutoParent. And now it's time to do a little something different. Well, now we are in our Get Real segment where we read the lectionary passage for each week and we get real. The text for this week comes from Luke chapter 24, verses 36 through 48. And here it is in the New Revised Standard Version. While they were talking about this, Jesus himself stood among them and said to them, "Peace be with you." They were startled and terrified and thought that they were seeing a ghost. He said to them, "Why are you frightened? And why do doubts arise in your hearts? Look at my hands and my feet. See that it is I, myself. Touch me and see, for a ghost does not have flesh and bones as you see that I have." And when he said this, he showed them his hands and his feet. While in their joy they were disbelieving and still wondering, he said to them, "Have you anything here to eat?" They gave him a piece of broiled fish, and he took it and ate in their presence. Then he said to them, "These are my words that I spoke to you while I was still with you, that everything written about me in the law of Moses, the prophets, and the Psalms must be fulfilled." Then he opened their minds to understand the scriptures, and he said to them, "Thus it is written that the Messiah is to suffer and to rise from the dead on the third day, and that repentance and forgiveness of sins is to be proclaimed in his name to all nations, beginning from Jerusalem. You are witnesses of these things." This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Yes.
Hey.
All right. So what are just some initial reactions that you have for this particular text?
The disciples.
Right.
These jokers just can't. I mean, Jesus is really good at hanging in there with them.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, for reals. And they just do not know this dude when they see him.
Right.
Oh, man. I mean, I know that people wore their hair a certain way and they were covered and stuff, but come on, man. You don't know that Jesus. Come on. Come on, man. Give me a break. That's like the biggest thing, like the ability that Jesus has to hang in there when we don't have a clue what the heck is going on.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny because we in the Easter episode talk a little bit about how, like, at that point they're still not getting it, right? And like as we followed through the liturgical and the lectionary, just to see how like Jesus is very, very clear. I mean, at the temple, there's like a whole like double entendre thing happening. Like, who's the temple? Is it the physical temple? Is it me? Is it, whatever. But like, he just gets more and more clear. Like, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. Here's your sign about what's going to happen. And they never get it. They never get it.
Come on, man. You are you going to believe this guy or no?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
It's interesting too, just to go ahead and like immediately make a connection with parenting. I mean, I ask that question all the time. Like, are you ever going to get it to my own kids?
I'm sure. I'm sure. And so my niece who's in college, when she was very little, there were certain days she had dance class. Her mom was like, can you pick her up and take her to dance class? So yeah, sure. So we would go to her house. She'd tell me her privates itched. I'd ask her, did you wipe good? Then she'd get quiet. Okay, so no. So we need to fix that up. And then we got to go home, change clothes, and you've got dance class. So we can't be lollygagging and gangsta leaning. You got to hurry up.
Yeah.
She was about 4. And she'd say, no lollygagging. Let's do this. Okay. And I would have to say, put your clothes on, ma'am. I'm trying to protect the guilty.
Yeah.
Put your clothes on, ma'am, 100 times. So like,
oh gosh. Yes.
So like at one point I had made up a song about it, and she was like, no song, Auntie. And I'm like, I wouldn't sing the song if you would get it together.
Yeah.
Let's go. We do this Monday and Wednesday of every week, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Why have you not gotten it? Your mom lays out all of your clothes. You know exactly where your room is. You know I'm going to pick you up. You know how to get in my car, get in the seat. We put you in, you buckle it and everything. Why? When we get to the house, do you get amnesia about what is occurring?
Yes.
Every time you come home, you have a poo, we get you straight, you get upstairs, and you lose all sense of what happens next. You know me, right? And I was just like, what? And so you parents who have to say, please get it together. I've said this 100. I can't imagine what y'all have to say every day.
It's insane.
All day.
Riggins, my 3-year-old, gosh, is he 3? He's 3. He is a naked child. I mean, that's just how it is. Like he as soon as he crosses the threshold of our apartment, like clothes off. And honestly, like it's extended some to where he's like, okay, we're in the apartment building. I can start taking my pants off. And I'm like, no. But he's naked all the time. So getting him dressed is a whole ordeal. But the thing that really bothers me is that Greg will sit in a stationary position and just shout at Riggs, come here, Riggs, I want to get you dressed. He's got clothes in his hands. Greg's sitting down. Riggs is running all around the apartment, going nuts. And Greg's like, Riggs, come here, I'm going to get you dressed. Riggs, come here, I'm going to get you dressed. And he does this for about 30 minutes until I just go and snatch the clothes out of his hand and catch the child and put the clothes on him. Takes 2 seconds. He thinks that this is going to happen, that eventually he's just going to get it. And I'm like, kudos for your patience. But if I was Jesus, I'd be like, we're putting your damn clothes on right now.
If I say it one more time, like what?
Yeah.
I can't, and it doesn't matter what age or stage it is. I mean, there's something you've got to say. When they get to preteen, then it's like, do you have on deodorant? Do you have
right? That's right.
Yeah. Lift your arm. Lift your arm. Let me see. Let me see.
Right. It's always something.
And it's not. And it's like, how is it possible that you can forget to put on deodorant? Do you smell yourself? Do you smell yourself? Take a shower. Did you take a shower? Did you put soap on anything in your body? Because you still smell the way you smell before you. And it doesn't matter, gender doesn't matter.
No,
whatever you identify, they're gonna smell, man. I mean, it's just not, and you just like, why? But why though? And if you say something, they get offended, like, oh my God, you said I smell. Well, you do.
You do.
You stink, dude. What is going on? So so like when Jesus is like, it's me, okay, it's me, dude. It's just me. It's me. Do you see my hands?
Right.
We have a discussion about what was going to happen.
Right.
You weren't there, most of you, but we had a discussion about that, and I did it, and so here I am. Do you have some food? Just
That's what I was gonna say. My first initial reaction is like, Jesus is hungry, which, like, of course, like, what a whole ordeal he's come through. He's like, give me some food. Like, I resurrected. Give me some food, man.
And maybe you'll get it together by the time I finish this.
By the time I finish this fish.
Sick of y'all. This is ridiculous. We talked about this. We talked about this. We talked about this. I mean, like, even taking my niece to the store, the preteen, now she's a teenager. She just turned 13. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to have a conversation about this situation. We're about to go into the mall. We have something to get. And when we get it, we're going to leave. That's it.
Yeah.
And we have that discussion, like, okay, so we're standing at the door of the mall. Okay, remember, this is the discussion we had. Can we just go over here? And didn't we have a discussion about how this was going to go? We came in, we got the thing that you wanted. We're good. Let's bounce. Oh, but I want a cookie, please. Can I have a cookie, please? Do you deserve a cookie? No, you do not. Let's stop. It's just like...
That's true. I mean, this is funny because I'm thinking about, like, so there's this comedian, his name is Nate Bargatze, and he is really, really funny. He's from Nashville, and, like, our families know each other. And he has a new Netflix special, which I'm totally plugging, that you should go watch. It's called The Greatest Average American. It's really good. But he has a previous Netflix special called The Tennessee Kid, and in it he talks about how you have to, like, prepare kids and, like, reinforce ideas over and over and over again. And he talks about with his daughter, like, they had a dog and she was getting old, and they had told her that, like, they had told him that the dog didn't have very long to live. And so they had to start telling the child, like, the dog's gonna die, the dog's gonna die. And then the dog lived for 6 more months. So for 6 months, they had to keep telling her that the dog was gonna die.
Are you trying to traumatize me? What is this? What kind of foolishness?
So anyway, subtle plug for Nate Bargatze, but it's true. Like, the thing that you're saying about the store, like, I have to start from the time that we get in the car. And this is pre-pandemic because the kids don't go into stores very often at all anymore. But we would get in the car, and from that point I would have to say, like, we are going in. We are getting one thing. You are not getting this. You are not getting this. You're not getting this. Just, like, constant repetition. So it's really funny because I've never read this story or the arc of these lectionary pieces together, and thinking about how Jesus and the disciples is definitely like parenting a toddler. like,
come on, guys. We've had this discussion. Come on, give me a break. I can't imagine. No.
I think I will just forever laugh at, like, maybe y'all figure it out while I'm eating this fish.
While I'm eating this fish sandwich, you'll figure out who I am. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, maybe the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Like, give me a break. Come on.
The only other thing,
like, go ahead. Like, parents can, like, hey man, you know what? While you figure out all I just told you like 12 times, I'm gonna go take a shower. And when I come back, maybe it'll have seeped into your brain of what I just said.
Yeah. I always say this on the podcast, like, there's nothing that you can ruin in a minute that can't be fixed. Like, there's a lot of things you can ruin in a minute and a half, but give me a minute. And it's funny to think about it in that way too, because I've never thought about that. Jesus is like, I need a break. I need to eat.
Right.
Y'all, talk amongst yourselves.
Absolutely. And like my mom is really like that. Like, well, y'all need to figure it out.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to go take a shower. And when I get back, I hope you figured it out.
Yeah.
Okay. And like, did you figure it out? And we like, yes. Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah. That's so funny. That's so funny. I've never thought about that, but it's definitely illuminated in my mind now. The only other thing that I wanted to bring to light from this, not even this particular passage, but the synoptics and the actual doubting Thomas narrative, there's something to me that rings true about humans and their desire to lay claim over the other people's wounds.
Mm.
And I remember preaching this sermon a while back where I just kept asking the question, like, what are you going to do with other people's wounds? Thomas? Like, are you going to root around in them? Are you are you going to weaponize them and use them against these? Like, what are you doing with other people's wounds? And I mean, perhaps like it's something that, was necessary and needed, right? Because we've come this far, as we have mentioned, with disbelief, with confusion, with not knowing what's going on. But I do find too that like in situations where we are in the midst of trauma or confused or grieving, either we tear away at our own brokenness and sort of unbandage our own wounds, or we find ways to do that with other people. And it's just kind of like a cyclical, harmful cycle.
Yeah.
And it's something that always strikes me as I'm reading this passage, particularly in the synoptics, but here too, this touch and see these wounds and the flesh and bones. And I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast, but I have this like kind of visceral image of Jesus where, I've got wounds, I've got brokenness, and I'm, maybe in a pit, like in the muck and mire, in the midst of woundedness, of grief, of trauma. And Jesus comes down and bandages those wounds. And it's not that I come up. It's not that I have to take 3 or 4 steps before, I get to the bandage phase. It's that Jesus is with us in the pit, and that we are already actively being healed. Yeah. And yet, sometimes it's really hard not to pick at those scabs, like to pick at those wounds, right?
Yes.
And so, especially as parents, my goodness, just thinking about that, number one, that idea of not being alone in the midst of this holy hellfire of poisonous fire snakes that is pandemic parenting and working and all of those things, to know that we're not alone and to know that we are already actively being healed and being reconciled, being redeemed. Like all of that is the Easter story, right?
Right, absolutely.
So anyway, that's just something else that caught my eye that I thought might connect to parents as well. Anything else you want to say about this particular text?
Well, they do get it together. And
They do.
Figure it out.
They do.
And they're really delighted. And they listen. Your kids are listening to you, even though you don't think they are.
Oh, yeah, that's a word.
Yeah, they're listening to you. They might not agree with you, and they might not think you know what the heck you're talking about. But eventually it comes around, and they're like, oh, shucks. My parents know more than I think they do.
Yeah.
And my brother and I joke that we could never bring somebody that we liked around our mother because she would just figure them out so quickly. And I'd be like, no, don't be trying to figure out people that I like. No, ma'am. Yeah. And I'll go, oh, Mom. And she'll say, I'm telling you. And then me and my brother are like, daggone it. Strikes again.
Yeah. I love the way this text ends. You are witnesses of these things. That the Easter story really continues because the story continues to be told. Because there is a witness to this victory, right? And even in the midst of confusion and doubt and disbelief and all of those things, like, there is victory. Love wins. And the story continues because there are people who are willing to witness to that fact that love ultimately won.
Even through our confusion and we don't quite get it, love just kept going on. Love was like, but nope, we're going to win anyway. They don't know, but they'll catch up.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it happen. So that's the good news. The good news is even when we're confused and we don't know what the heck's going on, love is like, I got you.
I got it. Oh, that's good. That's good. I think that's a good place to end on. I'm so excited by that, by everything that we've just talked about. I think it's super, super poignant and such a beautiful Easter message. As I mentioned, Pastor Kelly is an associate pastor and the director of hospitality and congregational care at Foundry United Methodist Church. You can connect with Pastor Kelly in various ways online. The Reverend Dr. Kelly Grimes. It has been an honor to be with you. And I'm so glad you were here.
I laugh at being the Reverend Dr. Kelly Grimes because when I was a teenager, I didn't know what the crap I was doing with myself. So parents, your child will figure it out.
Yes.
Yes, they will.
You're going to make it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. What? I went to 4 colleges before I graduated. Let's talk about it, baby.
Okay.
I was just like, could you just get a degree in anything? Sure, Dad, I'll get a degree in something. I promise. It took me 10 years, but I did it.
You did it.
I did it. That's hilarious. Okay.
So good. So good. Every week, we'll have a parent mantra, something that you can say to yourself or to your partner so that you can be reminded you're not alone. The AutoParent podcast family and the Foundry Family Ministries are with you on this journey. Your mantra for this week is love has me. Love has me. Because friends, if we don't believe that, it's going to be really hard to convince our kids. I've been your host, Pastor KC. You can follow me on Twitter at RevKCVC. And remember to be gentle with yourselves. You don't have to be an auto parent to be a good one. Join us next week, same time, same place. You can find out more information about Foundry United Methodist Church by visiting our website, www.foundryumc.org. If you're specifically looking for information about our Family Ministries Department or our offerings for parents, you can find those at www.foundryumc.org/family ministries.